I went to my nephew's high school graduation. I don't think I've ever been more disappointed in the human species in my life. I'm in the stands. This woman gets on the microphone. She tried so hard. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful day here with all these graduates. We're gonna ask you in advance to please not applaud or cheer when your individual child or friend is called, because we have way too many graduates and it would not be fair to the people at the end of the alphabet. We're going to give everybody an opportunity at the end of the ceremony to give a big simultaneous round of applause for everyone. But please, when your individual child or family member is called, please don't applaud at that time. Okay, thank you in advance for understanding. Okay, here we go. Let's get started with our first graduate, Aaron Anderson. Yeah! Aaron! Aaron! Are we the smartest species? We're top of the food chain? I so wish, while he was yelling, that a clamp would have descended from the darkness of the ceiling, like one of those claw games, just right above him, and then just clamped onto his ribs and just pulled him up, a whooping and a hollering, a legs a flailing, just pulled him up into the darkness. I don't want him to die. I just never want to see him again.
It's 7:08 at WRJN Radio. I'm Don Rosen. I want to thank you for joining us here on a Wednesday morning, March 13th. Wow, spring is just a week away. I think it's the 20th, isn't it? Something like that, spring. That's kind of nice. Increasing cloudiness today with a high near 53. Rain, thunderstorms possible tonight. Lows 41. More rain and thunderstorms possible tomorrow. Beautiful weather right now. Sun is coming up over the lake. 45 degrees. And in studio is your candidate for the 2nd Alder District. Oh, there, I said it. I said it right, Alder District. Tyler Townsend is here. Thank you very much for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, by all means. Want to find out who's going to run our town. And we have two candidates. We have Molly Jones. Is it Molly Jones?
Yeah.
Molly Jones. She is the incumbent, and you are the challenger.
I am.
Sounds like a game show.
Yeah.
Bring in our challenger.
Yeah.
So I ask everybody who runs for office this first question. Why do you want to do this?
Honestly, this is going to be kind of an out there response, but there's a little part of me, I don't want to necessarily be a politician or something like that. What I want to do is try to make a difference. What really put me into the run was in December, there was the apartment fire on Washington, and I went home and I posted on Facebook just asking a few friends, like, hey, does anybody have donations? And I've always paid attention to politics, but more so at the higher level. And I've started paying more attention to the local politics recently. And as I was trying to put together donations, it turned into a huge drive. Like, people from all over the city were reaching out to me. And a conversation I had with a lot of people was, you seem like you really care about people. Have you ever wanted to run for office? And I was like, it took me a second. I kind of thought about it a little bit, and then I just decided to go for it. I would like to try to keep climbing, and as Alder, that's where I can get my foot in the door, and I can make great connections with people like I have so far, knocking on doors and stuff. And yeah.
Good for you. You said Alder.
Yeah.
I still can't get used to just saying Alder. It sounds like I'm missing half the word. Like he forgot the rest of the word. It's alderman.
Yeah, it's kind of like a muscle memory thing.
Yeah,
you just say it.
I'll get it eventually. I mean, when I'm about 90 years old, I might remember it. Okay, so you don't want to be a politician per se, but you want to do good.
Yeah, I want to. I think that there's a lot of people in politics, especially at the higher level, that kind of are just in it for a job and kind of lost sight of the original goal of being an elected official.
So you don't mind going to a restaurant and have people come up to you and say, hey, Mr. Townsend, I got a pothole in front of my house, and I need it filled right away. Mr. Townsend, there's cars parked on my street, and they've been there for a long time. What can we do to get rid of it? So here you are trying to enjoy life, and I've spoken to many Alder. Not older people, Alder. I've spoken to many of them, and they say that. They're in a supermarket. People come up to them, start complaining. They have no private life when they're in public because they're so recognizable, some of them. And that wouldn't bother you?
No. It would be a little bit of a transition, because right now, like before all of it, my network has grown so much in the past few months that even now, like when I'm out knocking on doors and stuff, I have people stop me, but in a more positive sense, like, hey, Tyler, how's it going? How's the campaign going? I think that it won't bother me, though, because my goal is to be that representative that listens, that makes you feel heard, and that actually does something with that conversation. So hopefully we have that conversation once, and that's the last time we have to have it,
When the primary, there were 4 people running in the primary?
Yeah.
How'd you feel when you found out you were one of the final 2?
I was pretty excited, but I also, I expected there to be like a wave of like, oh, this is cool, of like excitement, but it honestly just transitioned straight into, all right, let's get to April 2nd. Like, I was already getting ready for the next leg of the campaign right
All right,
away.
enough with the happiness. Let's move on. Where you from originally?
Racine.
Ah, you're a local yokel. Look at you. So where'd you go to school?
Park
High School. All right.
Graduated class of 17.
So you know the area.
Yeah.
So you grew up here.
Yep.
Did you go to further education after college? After high school?
I did not, actually. After high school, I started working on overhead cranes.
And what's that?
In like factories and steel foundries and stuff like that. Yeah.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it was an interesting job for sure, but I learned a lot, so I'm incredibly thankful for it. I learned all of my electrical troubleshooting skills and stuff like that from that. So
Was that your dream job?
No, I was honestly, when I first started, I wasn't even over my fear of heights yet.
Oh,
that was a
brother.
trial by fire thing.
Oh, there's no way you'd get me involved in that kind of stuff. I'm very nervous about walking downstairs.
Yeah.
I don't even want to do that. So what is your dream job someday?
My dream job someday, I would say, I really like investigative journalism and stuff like that, like being able to dive into something I don't, right now I do maintenance at a hotel in downtown Kenosha. I'm the chief engineer at the Stella Hotel, and I just don't think maintenance is something I want to do forever because I feel like I don't make enough of a difference in people's lives. Like, I don't know, that sounds weird, but I feel like...
It doesn't sound weird at all.
Yeah, I just feel like there's things I could be doing that would actually help people who are in need, and that's my goal more than fixing an outlet or
All right,
painting.
so let's say you won the Alder district, and you are now the new Alder of the 2nd district. What do you want to do for the people?
So I want to try to find creative solutions to bring in affordable, fresh foods. Right now, our district doesn't have a lot of access to that. And then...
You mean like a market?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also want to work with the Department of Public Works because a lot of our district right now is kind of like a drag strip. Like, it's one of the most common complaints I get when I knock on doors and stuff is there's people flying down our street.
I live on North Main.
Yeah, and that's probably
And I heard it last night when I'm sleeping. It sounded like a drag strip out there. And
Yeah.
just by the sound of the muffler, it sounded like they were zooming past my house at about 60 miles an hour. Now, maybe not that fast because, the sound makes it sound worse than it is. But I got to tell you something. They're zooming past my house at night, even when I come into work in the morning. As a matter of fact, I think it's in the 2nd district. 16th Street is in the 2nd district. When I come in, it's 30 miles an hour on 16th Street. And people are flying by me. They're on my tail, blinking their headlights for me to go faster because they're late for work. They didn't plan out their morning like I planned out my morning to be at work a half hour early. And they're zooming by me. And when they try to pass on the right, there are people parked in that lane. So they got to zoom up and cut me off as fast as they can to get by me. And I'm not going to put on my brakes to let them in.
Yeah.
I mean, why should I stop my car to let them in because they're late for work? So yeah, that's a big problem. How do you fight something like that?
Yeah, so I think that The Racine Police Department right now is currently slightly understaffed. So I think that if we could, I feel like we have to get creative with that because we have to find ways to make the police more present so that people know that they're out and about. But I also know that the resources are stretched kind of thin right now. So from the neighborhood watch meetings I've been to and stuff, they say that what you can, at least for like our side streets like Wisconsin and stuff like that, not really side street, Wisconsin's kind of like a main street at this point, but you can contact the Department of Public Works. They'll do a traffic study in those areas, and then they come up with ideas from there, whether it be stop signs or something, but that doesn't really help us on 16th Street. That's where we need something like the present.
They have one of those signs on 16th Street, those digital signs that tell you how fast you're going. Mm-hmm. And mine's always yellow. It's traveling 30 miles an hour. But they kind of pass me, it goes blinking red, 45. They don't care. It's just, people who speed and cut into traffic, they don't care because they're late to where they're going and they'll risk everybody else's lives.
Yeah.
I don't, I had a boss once when I was a janitor at this radio station, and I said, these people are slobs. These people are pigs. They're just slobs. I clean up after them. It's like cleaning up in a zoo. And he said, I'll tell you this, and this will serve you for life. You can't dictate morality to people. Either they are good or they are bad. Either they're going to break the rules or they're not going to break the rules, and you dictating to them isn't going to change anything. He told me that back in 1972, and I never forgot that. You can't dictate morality to people. So if people are going to do rotten things, they're going to do rotten things, no matter whether you tell them not to or to tell them. So where is the actual borderline now? 2nd District is south of downtown, right? It's not part of downtown.
Yeah, so it's south of downtown. It's a staggered border on 11th Avenue for our northern border. Our southern border goes down to around the waste management plant. And then our western border it's kind of staggered, but it's just on the other side of Racine Street for the most part.
Okay, so I know where it is, yeah. All right. Alder Townsend is here. He's going for the 2nd Alder seat, and it's up for grabs on first Tuesday in April. What is it, April
2nd.
April 2nd. And we'll talk more to Tyler, get his views on homelessness, crime, things like that. If you had a pet project, what would you do with your district if I gave you all the money and there was no limit to how much you can spend? What would you do with that money? We'll find out. It's coming up here. WRJN, Hometown Radio Refreshed, a civic media station. 99.9 FM, 98.1 FM, and 1400 AM radio. at WRJN. Tyler Townsend is here. He's running for the second Alder seat in Racine, and he's got some ideas on how to run things. The election will be on April 2nd, and that is coming up first Tuesday in April. I wonder if any other elections out there. I have to check it out. I know we have the fourth aldermanic seat. That's the one I'm in. and Jacqueline Schrader and Dave Mack are vying for that seat. And I think these are the only two seats that have contested races. I don't think any of the others?
For the Aldermanic district.
Yeah, I think that's it. Just everybody else, all of the incumbents in, and nobody wanted to run against them, or their seat's not up for grabs yet. Okay, let's talk about some of the issues. And the biggest issue in any city in America right now, two biggest issues, crime and homelessness. Let's talk about crime. I see on my phone with the Ring system every single day and night, heard shots. There's a big police presence. I lost my dog. I lost my cat. What's going on? Cops everywhere. What's going on? I'm hearing gunshots. Again, you can't dictate morality to people, but what do you do to the people who are victims of crime? How do you help them and say, listen, we're here to protect you?
What I would really like to do is I'd like to work, especially with our youth, and on things like diversion programs, and try to make them more forward-thinking instead of short-term thinking, so that, it might stop them from having an impulsive reaction that will start that snowball effect. As far as it goes for older people, I think a lot of things play into crime. I think it's economic development. I think it's relative poverty. I think that we have to work on trying to make our neighborhoods feel like communities again, so that you actually have a sense of belonging and a sense of ownership, and you feel like people care and stuff like that. I think a lot of people right now are just kind of cold because they've been struggling. It's all they've known is struggling, and they're not thinking about 10 years from now when they're...
I know you heard me talk about the Royal Family Kids Camp.
Yeah.
And this is set up by Deputy Chief Rick Teller and his wife. It's out in Lake Geneva, and they're taking foster kids that came from abused homes or broken homes. I mean, they were taken away from their family because things were so bad that they had to be put in someone else's family temporarily, because foster parents are not permanent parents, just what the name implies. And they give them 1 week to be kids again. I think this is where we've got to catch these people before they go bad.
Absolutely.
You gotta give them a good family, somebody who cares about them.
Yep.
I mean, my dad and my mother, I always tell people I came from a Leave It to Beaver house. My dad never laid a hand on me in my entire life, but the threat was there. I mean, he used to look at my brother and I, and fireballs came out of his eyes. I swear there were fireballs. And he said, you two want to see blood? You're going to see blood if this happens again. Oh, it never happened again.
Yeah.
But he never laid a hand on it. But my brother and I always thought there's going to come a time when he's going to crack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we always stayed on the straight and narrow because the threat was there. My mother wasn't my father was the scary guy. My mother did the discipline. So, and that's, I think, what some of these kids need. They need to be frightened into being good. I mean, don't hit them. Don't lay a hand on them. I don't think that's the way to go. But you've got to make it so they don't want to do bad things. I feel terrible when I see these police videos and these cop shows on TV, and they're arresting these kids that are 13 and 14 years old.
And it all just snowballs from there, too. I mean, it usually doesn't stop. Once they have that first run-in, it's almost... your rates of running in again with them soon it's almost guaranteed to happen.
So how do we get more money for the police?
I think that with that we need to be creative in looking at where we're spending other things. I'm not going to act like I fully understand it, but like the speed trailers, for example, those cost around $15,000 a piece.
What are those? Oh, those are those things I was talking about?
Yeah.
Those are called what, speed trailers?
Yeah, the little ones that they tow when they set it up on the side of the road and it flashes at you.
I didn't know it had a name. Now I know.
Yeah, I saw it in the city in the budget, and that's
speed trailers.
Yeah,
I like that name. That's what it is. It's a speed trailer. All
yep.
right.
So like those.
How much do they cost?
$15,000
a piece.
Yeah.
Whoa.
From what I could tell in the budget, yeah. So I think it's, what kind of data do those draw compared to what an officer costs or another officer would cost, I don't don't know anybody who slows down when they see those.
I told you on 60. they zoom by me. I see 45 miles an hour on that thing as he cuts me off.
It's like they're trying to set high scores or something.
Now,
I'm like,
it does work with me when I see it, because sometimes it'll say, you're going 32 in a 30 zone. I say, whoa, I gotta slow down, because that stuff bothers me. I'm a big go the speed limit guy, and they made the speed limit for a reason, and the reason is because it's a area where people run out into the street, kids run out, and you got to slow down a little bit.
yeah.
So those cost 50. So you want to cut back maybe on those and put the money toward human beings in the police department?
Yeah, I mean, and of course, you'd have to talk to Chief Ramirez and everything and figure out what kind of data they get from them. But I think that it's going to require getting kind of creative with it. And we're also going to have to find ways to work with a lot of our entrepreneurs that are within Racine. We have a lot of people with micro businesses who sell on Etsy and stuff like that. We have a lot of people who want to open stores, but they don't know where to start. They don't know where to get the resources. And I'm not saying we have to hand them a check, but we can at least say, hey,
here's how to do it.
Absolutely, because right now, a lot of our talent pool is pouring out of Racine and especially Wisconsin. They're going other places where they think there's more money to be made and more opportunities. So I think if we can find ways to really kind of nurture them and help them achieve their dreams and goals, we're going to have more successful businesses here, because we're going to have a more robust talent pool that's going to attract larger corporations too then. So then that's going to be more tax revenue coming in that we could use for.
We're talking to Tyler Townsend. He wants your vote on April 2nd for the Alder job in the 2nd District. More with Tyler Townsend coming up in just a moment, 7:29 at WRJN Radio. We're hometown radio refreshed, a civic media station at 99.9 FM, 98.1 FM, and 1400 AM. Keep it right here. We got increasing clouds today with a high near 53. Right now it's gorgeous. The sun's coming up over the lake. It's clear, 45 degrees.
Like a long, lonely stream, I keep running towards a dream. Moving on, moving on.
It's 7:35 at WRJN. Good morning. I'm Don Rosen. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning. Tyler Townsend is here looking for your vote to be our 2nd District Alder in Racine. Still doesn't sound right saying that. I want to say alderman, alderperson. Doesn't sound right, alder.
Eventually.
Sounds like I should be saying another syllable afterwards. All right, we talked about a little bit about crime and so forth. Homelessness, that's a major problem. And there was a store in Racine, downtown, and I think they closed up, I was told. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know. Because they couldn't deal with the homelessness right a half a block away coming in front of their building. And this would be your district or close to it. And if there are people that don't have homes. What are you going to do? I mean, it's a fact of life. Not everybody's got a nice, cushy house to go to at night. Some people just live on the streets. What do you do about these people? I mean, you can't let them live on the streets. First of all, I hate to say this, but it annoys the people who aren't homeless because they got to deal with it. And they come up to people panhandling and bothering them. I mean, what do you do with homeless people? There's homeless people in every city in America. It's not just here. What do you do with them? What do you do with that problem?
Yeah, so I think that it requires pretty creative solutions. I think you need to look at what other places are doing, but I think that and incorporate that here, but I think you also have to, it's a multifaceted approach. You know, you have to look at the economic development. You have to look at our housing situation. You have to look at, you know, these people who are homeless, they're still people. They're just under rougher circumstances than us, you know? And I understand that there's people out there who say, oh, well, they do it to themselves, this and that. No, they don't. Stop and ask yourself the question behind the question. You know, sure, we can put them in a house, but we have to work with them to solve what got them there to begin with. Was it drug use? Was it just falling on hard times fiscally? You know, I think it's important that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation for those people. So I think that it's important that we you know, every person's going to require a different approach. I'm a coordinator with the Youth Volunteer Corps, and we're at the hospitality center often. And the staff there is incredible. The people there are incredible. And I think, you know, there's been, what set off a lot of people was there was talks of possibly moving the hospitality center.
Now, that's the one on Main Street?
Yes.
And that's right at, what, 11th and Main or somewhere around there? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that I think it's important that if we do decide to move them, that it's near other resources still. Like,
it almost sounds like we're warehousing these people.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, yeah. And you know, the hospitality center doesn't provide shelter, but it provides a meal, it provides clothes, it provides haircuts, and you know, resources that really help people. You know, if you get a good haircut, you feel good. You have clean clothes, you feel a lot better. And I think that if we just need to continue to make sure that they have the resources that they need, and that instead of just looking at people who are homeless and just kind of scoffing at them or something like that, just stop and take a step back and you know, ask yourself, what can you do? Or what, you know, instead of just everybody being mad about it, I think it takes a collaborative solution, you know, like we're going to have to get creative with it. I don't think there's any city out there that just snap their fingers and, oh, look, there's no homeless people anymore, you know? But until we answer the underlying problems, I think it's going to continue to affect us.
You know, and that's a good point. I do see some of the men hanging around the hospitality center when I travel downtown. I see them out there. And my first thought is, isn't there anywhere you can go other than just hanging around, sitting there talking to other people who are in the same predicament you're in? Maybe you should talk to people who aren't in your predicament or got out of your predicament so you can learn how to do it. So where do homeless people sleep at night in Racine? I know the hospitality center just does what you say, they're hospitality. Yeah. I understand that. But where do they go? I mean, where do they live? If you're homeless, that's the definition of the word. You don't have a home to go to.
Yeah.
It's scary sometimes.
It absolutely is. And Halo is another great resource that our city has. We do have other organizations, local organizations that try to work with them and help them as well. But I mean, it's exactly that. A lot of these people don't have anywhere to sleep if they're not at Halo. I mean, I couldn't, you know, it's nice out now, but when it's 20 degrees outside, when I walk to my car and I stop and I'm like, whoa, it's cold, the first thing that pops into my head is, could you imagine sleeping outside in that?
Yeah, and I hear these stories occasionally about women living with their children in their car because they have nowhere to go. They're parking in a parking lot at night to live there. My heart breaks, not only so much more for women, I don't know why, but women and children living in a car because you have nowhere to go. I mean, I just want to cry when you hear something like that.
Yeah, and especially for the children. I mean, kids shouldn't have to focus on anything more than setting a new high score or hanging out with their friends or this or that. And so it's sad. You know,
when I worked downtown Milwaukee at 7th in Wisconsin, that's where the radio station was. And every day I saw this old man in tattered clothes with a shopping cart pushing his stuff around the street. I saw him every day for years. And I talked to the mailman one day, and he said, that guy is a very wealthy man. He's got a lot of money. He's got a mail drop at the Army-Navy store for his mail, but he lives on the street. I said, you mean a lot of money? He says, I'll bet you he's got close to $1 million. I said, why is he living on the street? He said his son was killed in Vietnam, and he gave up on life, and now he just lives on the street, and that's where he wants to be. And he just put his money away, doesn't want anything to do with it, and just... So everybody's got a story on those streets.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, not everybody is there because they're drug users or they're alcohol.
Absolutely.
People have a story. And this guy has all the money in the world, but he can't face life anymore. So he gave up. And the mailman told me this story. And now when I saw him out there, I saw a different person now.
Yeah, and it's Yeah, it's crazy, but it's just kind of those preconceived.
Yeah. You think everybody's a bum, and people aren't bums. They just, hard times, something happened in their life where they just gave up, and that was it. Let's talk about drugs. It's got to be one of the number one problems in America. You know, when I watch these cop shows on TV, they're always pulling people over for like a bad license plate or their taillights out. Invariably, they go into their car, they don't have a valid license, and they got drugs in the car. Mm-hmm. First of all, if I'm traveling with drugs in the car, the last thing I want to do is speed and have a taillight out because they're going to stop you.
Yeah.
So these people aren't too bright to begin with. But, I mean, everybody's got drugs. I think I'm the last person in America who's never smoked a cigarette or took recreational drugs. I don't get it, but people do it. So where do you start in your district to kind of clean up any drug use or drug sales or that type of stuff going on? And it goes on everywhere. So
yeah, I think that it kind of plays back to before, where we need to look at other things like economic development, because there's a lot of people in poverty. Not everybody who does drugs is in poverty or anything, but a large percentage of the harder, more lethal drugs and stuff like that, like, we really need to help. I think a lot of people. I'm sorry, I'm kind of stuttering here. So I think that
I'd rather have a well thought out statement than somebody just shooting something out of their mouth. It's refreshing to see somebody. Let me think about that for a second.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was about to say I would rather see people get these kids in school and stop them.
Yeah.
And parents, if you see your kids hanging around with the wrong element, do something about it.
Yeah, and when it comes to the drug use too, I think it's important, like I was saying before, to ask the question behind the question. You know, why are these people doing these drugs? Because I think that it is somewhat an individual approach to each person. And I've talked to a lot of homeless people. I've talked to a lot of people who are users, and not even just homeless, just people who are users. They're everywhere. I mean, a lot of people are going through stuff that you have no idea what they're going through.
I remember the first time I ever saw somebody use drugs. I was in Atlanta, and somebody who I worked at a radio station on Long Island with moved to Atlanta. And he said, why don't you come over to the house? We're having a get-together. I said, all right. So I got over there. I didn't know anybody but him. And all of a sudden, he broke out the drugs. And I panicked. This was back in the 70s. And I said, uh-oh, what do? I got to make a clean getaway and get out of this house now. And I was just shocked to see the drugs coming out on the table, because I thought this guy was a straight shooter when I worked with him. He's a very geeky type guy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all this stuff comes out. And I said, I got to go. I got to get up early in the morning, which I really did. But my wife and I left, and I ran. And I was scared because I don't want to get caught with these drugs. I don't want to ruin my life.
Yeah, and it's especially in like the trades and stuff too. A lot of people don't realize it, but like pretty much everybody is either smoking or.
And you don't know when you're walking down the street or on the lakefront and you're sitting on a bench, the guy next to you could have drugs in his pocket. You don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're ever going to get rid of it. Again, it's tough to dictate morality to people. They tried with prohibition back in the 30s. That didn't work. They tried to dictate to people not to drink. I don't think you'll ever dictate people not to use drugs. I think what you're going to have to do eventually is stop the importation of it, get it at the border before it gets in.
Yeah.
Because that's where it's coming in. It's not homegrown. It's coming in from somewhere.
Yeah, people aren't growing fentanyl in their backyard. They're
and they're growing little poppy seeds where they get cocaine from. So they must be getting it from somewhere. So stop them at the border. It's getting tougher to do. They had, you see in the news the other day, they got a guy, he had a pair of roller skates in his luggage. And inside the wheel of the roller skates was cocaine or heroin, whatever it was, and it was packed into the wheels. I mean, how do you find that stuff? They found it.
Yeah.
You know, they use these drug-sniffing dogs, and you can fool an agent at the gate, but you can't fool a dog.
Yeah, or I've seen two of the videos where the TSA going through stuff, and then the dog will hit in a box, and it looks like it's just something normal, like a little piece of piano or something. They snap it in half, and oh, look at this, like.
You know, I was on a cruise ship once, and they take your luggage, especially when you go to a foreign port, and they take your luggage off the cruise ship, and they put it in the terminal, and they line it all up there. Then they have the dogs walking up and down the luggage. And I remember the cruise director said, if that dog stops at your suitcase and smiles, your life is over.
You're a new citizen of whatever country you're stopped in.
He said, it's all over. And we had a guy on a cruise ship. He bought drugs in one of the islands in Jamaica, wherever it was, and he tried to get on the ship. And as soon as he got to that gangplank, they stopped him. And they took him away. His wife got on the ship, and he's probably going to be there for years, stuck in that island, because he took some pot and bought it on the island. And you think we're tough. Some of these islands are really tough on drugs. They don't tolerate anything. All right, when we get back, I want to ask you, if I gave you unlimited money, I give you a blank check for your district, what would you do with all that money? I want you to think about that for a minute.
Okay.
And get the wheels a turning?
Yeah.
What would I do if I got a blank check? I would probably give it to every dog shelter in America. That's what I would do with my money. I do it now. I give to a million different dog shelters and disabled vets. 2 disabled vet organizations. Every 6 months, I write it. I actually give cash. But that's what I would do with my money. I don't want anybody. I love dogs.
Yeah.
And I feel like, they do so much good for us. And then we kind of discard them in a shelter. And I want to help
Animals
them.
are incredible.
I want to help people, too, but I want to help dogs, too. Real quickly here, the Royal Family Kids Camp. 4 tickets to see the Bucks and the Celtics play at 5 Serve Forum on April 9th. We'll give you the whole VIP experience. You'll be sitting in row 2, seats 1 through 4. You can actually get hit with the sweat from the players. You're so close. That's what you want. Go bid on these tickets. The money will help the Royal Family Kids Camp. These are foster kids who will get away for a summer, for 1 week during the summer in Lake Geneva. Just go to WRJN.com/Bucks, WRJN.com/Bucks. Last time I checked was Friday. It was $1,200. So a bit higher than that. Royal Family Kids Camp. Go to WRJN.com/Bucks, WRJN.com/Bucks. Bid high, bid often. Alder Townsend is here. He's running for the 2nd District Alder seat. What's your vote? What would he do if I gave him a blank check? We'll find out in just a moment here. The WRJN Hometown Radio Refresh, a civic media station. It's 7:51 at WRJN Radio. Got a few minutes left with Tyler Townsend looking for your vote. April 2nd for the 2nd Alder seat in Racine. This wasn't so terrible today, was it?
No. This is my first time doing something like this. So I was a little nervous, but we're rolling through
This isn't 60 Minutes. I'm not going to... We don't grill you. This is not Meet the Press. Now, okay, so I told you I would give you a blank check, hypothetically. Give you a blank check. You can fill it out to any amount. What would you do with the money in your district?
So I would like to clean up some of the blighted houses, more community gardens, little libraries. I'd like to, especially, kind of like you mentioned before, too, make sure that the Women's Resource Center and places like those have all the resources that they need. And mainly just stuff like that. I mean, we could give some to the police if they can hire some more, get fully
It's a blank
staffed.
check. Do what you want with it.
Yeah. And I'd also like to build an innovation lab if we're going to do that. Something like a maker space. They have one up in Milwaukee where you go up there, they have everything you need for woodworking, metalworking, electronics, pretty much anything. And you have people who go there, and this guy will be an expert at woodworking, and this guy will know how to weld. Well, now they can collaborate on this project and stuff like that. I think there'd be a lot of value in that. I think there's a lot of people who are actually pretty creative and would do really good at stuff like that, but don't have a way to learn or a way to really practice that stuff right now. They'd get some kind of real-world experience for trades and stuff like that. You could do classes there.
So they'd get a big grant.
Yeah.
Okay. They have an innovation lab at the public library in Racine.
Yep.
because we have them in once a month, and they talk about the lab they have there. I always thought the library was a bunch of old dusty books. Boy, did I learn a lot since they've been in here.
Yeah,
That's a good place to get resources.
Absolutely is. We actually frequent it because go there and get random books. Or I thought this was cool. You can get stuff besides books at the library now.
You can get video games. You can get DVDs. You can get Blu-rays. You can rent. I think you can actually rent. I'm going to say computers, but they actually have lots of stuff you can get out of the library.
They do.
And if they don't have it, they'll find it and get it to you.
Yeah, it is really cool. My girlfriend collects uranium glass, and they have like the meter that you can test how radioactive it is and
that
stuff
sounds
like that.
dangerous.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It doesn't glow at night, does it?
No.
It's not that bad?
Only under a black light.
Oh, man. Okay, so in the final minutes here, I'm going to give you all the time you need here to talk to the people of Racine listening right now. And they might be listening on the podcast, may not be listening now. So I want you to talk to them and tell them why they should vote for you on April 2nd.
Yeah, well, I promise I'm always going to be available to listen. I'm always going to be available, and I'm not going to stop with listening. I'm going to take your concerns and what you tell me, and I'm going to take it to the highest level. I'm going to keep you updated on what's going on. I want to promote transparency in the government, less closed-door meetings and stuff like that before the Common Council sessions. And I really want to just work on making our communities more collaborative. I know there's a lot of people in the communities that want to be a community leader in a sense, and I really want to make our community more collaborative so that everybody feels like they're a part of it, so that everybody feels heard, feels represented. And yeah, I'll always be available for you to contact me as I am now. I'm on Facebook if you wanted to try to reach out to me after this at Tyler Townsend for Racine 2nd District.
Okay, say that again. So this is a website, or is this an email address? What is that?
It's a Facebook page.
Facebook page.
Yep.
And it's Tyler Townsend
for Racine 2nd District.
For Racine 2nd District on Facebook.
Yep.
Put Tyler Townsend, I'm sure it'll just pop up.
Yeah, and if my normal profile pops up, feel free to message me on there too. Whatever you find first.
Okay. So you're looking for everybody's votes. You seem like a nice young man. You seem like you have a lot on the ball.
Yeah.
And
one of my biggest struggles with it is I don't, like when I'm trying to tell people why they should vote for me is I don't want to overpromise. I'm trying to stay
2 cars in every garage and a chicken in every pot.
Yeah, like I don't want to sit here like I'm going to change the whole state. Like at the end of the day,
we're knocking down the 2nd District.
Yeah,
big wrecking ball. I'm going to start over. It's not Schrader. It's Schroeder Center. Is that the Schroeder Center? That would be in the 2nd District, right?
Our main building is the Dr. John Bryant Center.
Okay, but the Schroeder's, I don't know if it's Schrader or Schroeder Center. That's where that old building is, where they do all the. They kind of renovated it by putting different businesses in there. It's on 16th Street.
Yeah,
I think that's in the 2nd District. That's kind of a nice addition to the area. They were kind of took an old building and repurposed it, and we go through there all the time. There's a ton of business artists in there, and they have an open house coming up, and people should go through there and have a good time. Well, good luck, my friend.
I appreciate that very much.
I'm glad you came in. Good luck to you, and Tyler Townsend wants your vote, and that will be on April 2nd, all day long, wherever you vote. And good luck to you.
I appreciate that very much, and thank everyone for listening.
And you have a good future ahead of you. You got a lot on the ball.
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, okay. Well, good for you. I'm Don Rosen. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., bright and early, or dark and early, ever since they changed the clock. I thought I'd get more sunlight in the morning, and it turns out it's just the opposite.
Yep.
I was saying to my wife, oh, good, it's getting more sunlight. I didn't do the math right. It turns out it's darker in the morning and lighter in the afternoon, which is okay. 7:57 WRJN Radio. Hometown Radio refreshed.
In every heart there is a room, a sanctuary safe and strong, to heal the wounds from lovers past, until a new one comes along. and so will you soon, I suppose. But if my silence